let's have our call to order and flag salute. And, Jana, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Where's the flag off?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for pitching in there at the last minute. So, roll call, please, Mrs. Benders. Here.
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 Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So moving right along, I believe we have some items from the public. You've been very, very patient, and I hope you've learned a lot about the history of Conejo Valley, and will be coming to our museum soon. So these were two somewhat long presentations. So do we have cards, or what's happening, or why are all of you here? Do I have any cards? What? Oh, you're just here for the board meetings.
Yeah, right.
Oh. All right, we don't have that very often. Okay, so,
Usually people want.
yes. Thank you for your interest in our board meeting. All righty, so is there anyone online that has an item from the public? No, okay, moving right along. All righty, so we need to have the approval of the agenda.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Thank
Second.
you. And a second from Director Lang.
Well,
Never mind.
I just can't turn my head fast enough.
Okay.
It's really a
Well,
problem. It's a real.
forget
technical
it.
job. I'll look this way next time, Director Holt. So, all in favor to approve the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving on to number B, consent calendar. We're gonna do A, B, and C all together. Even though C is a resolution, we have already, this is just a minor change, and you all received those red line changes. Is there any comments about A, B, or C on our consent calendar? Any questions or comments for staff?
Is that a separate resolution, Jim?
We don't have to break that out. So one voice vote on the entire consent calendar would actually cover all three items and be reflected in the minutes to cover that resolution. So we'd be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be read in title only at this point because of where it is. in the
Right, I
agenda.
understood that. Right. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? I'm looking in this direction. Director, Holt.
I move, item number 6, the consent calendar, move to approve it, 6A, B, and C.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Director Lang? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, moving on to number 7. I don't believe we have any deferred matters. No. Any items for discussion at this point? No. So new items? No. We do have an item for discussion.
Yes, I do have an item for discussion.
Was this going to be under number 12, or would you like to have it now? I had it that we were going to talk about, is this the song?
Number 12.
Yep.
For future,
Either way, that's fine. That's fine. We could do 12.
We can't do anything, we can't take any action on anything. It's not
Correct.
agendized.
No, we can't take any action, but we can have an item for
Right,
discussion if you'd
right.
like to do it now.
No,
Please.
that's fine. We'll
Okay.
wait till later.
All right, we can do it for item 12. So, new items, Mama Haven's Party, 9A. Will you be talking about this, Mr. Hare?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Chair Cusworth, members of the board. Tonight we have Brian Hines, who's the chair of the event, and Tawny from, I don't know your last name. Tawny Roberts and her lovely son. You having fun? Yeah, I know, me too. From Mama's Haven here. They'll get up in a moment to explain what's going on about the event and about Mama's Haven. But a couple things we have to determine. Number one, that the party in the park is categorically exempt. It's going to be an event that we're going to have at Canal Creek North. We've been having a similar event to memorialize the borderline tragedy from a few years back. But Brian approached us recently and said, hey, I want to bump it up a little bit because we've been handling it as just a permit with limiting it to 1,000 people. We want to expand it to 3,000 people. So that bumps it up into the what we call a very large event. So by determining, we have to do a CEQA exemption for that. It's very similar to other events that we have in the Canal Creek complex, whether it's a chili cook-off or Oak-Art we've had in the past, like, Valley Days. So those events have been there historically, and there is an exemption for that. The facilities are designed for such large events such as that. So one, we have to determine it's exempt. And number two, another question we have today is to authorize the agreement with Mama's Haven, Party in the Park. And then something we'll address, I want to bring up in the fall, is back in November of 2018, the board did decide that there would be 3 very large events in the Canal Creek complex, again, being Chili Cook-Off, Oak-Art Country Music Festival, and Canal Valley Days. But Oak-Art Country Music Festival, we haven't had that in a few years. And so the board does have some flexibility with that, what they can do, and due to, I think, the significance of the event, the Party in the Park event, that's something I'm recommending that we should do this year, and we'll address the very large very large events at the Canal Creek complex. We'll address that as a whole, as a policy as a whole, sometime in the upcoming fall. The event that Brian will probably describe in a little bit, we modeled the agreement very much close to like the other events at Canal Creek North, like the Chili Cook-Off. Brian promises that'll be much more, be better run and more organized than Chili Cook-Off.
I didn't hear what he said.
Well, that's
was
what you
so
told me,
funny.
Brian. That's what he told me. I'm just repeating what Brian said.
Oh.
I'm just repeating what Brian said. He said, yeah, this is gonna be much better. You know, Chili Cook-Off brings a lot of people, but he said this will be more organized. So yeah, just kidding aside, yeah, because Marissa is here today. So again, but we did model the agreement after the Chili Cook. It's similar as far as the logistics of the event. So we modeled it after that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian if you want to get up there and talk a little bit on Tawny, if you want to talk a little bit on Mama's Haven. Yeah, you didn't
So-
see that coming.
Thank you, Brian. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you, but usually if somebody comes, they do talk, so we are
Yeah,
hearing you
I'm not
talk.
very, I'm not very good at that, so,
Thank you.
and the chili cook-off thing was just heavily implied. I never said that. So yeah, I own the Borderline Bar and Grill since 2007. I've been going since 1994. I owned it when the
Could
tragedy
you get
happened.
closer to the mic, please?
Of course I can, sir. And I still currently run Borderline Bar and Grill and everything having to do with it. When the city first approached me about doing the first party in the park, it was because you guys had built that healing garden, which is just so amazing. And they wanted to really show it off more than just a memorial to what happened, but show off the healing garden, what the city did to come together as a community. And we celebrated the 25 years that Borderline was before the shooting. I know COVID hit, and what happened is that day, 3,000 people showed up, and it was the first time that we really had more smiles than tears and the hugs that happened at Party in the Park. It was amazing. So we want to continue that tradition yearly if possible, but we want to ask that we increase it to the 3,000 people because we had a lot of people we had to say no to. We did sell out last year when we did it. We only did 1,000 people because that's what the permit allowed. So with that, we teamed up with Mama Haven, which is an amazing local charity, and Tony will tell you about that. Come on up. And pretty much that's all it is. What we're gonna do is basically build a replica of what Borderline is when it comes to the dance floor, the beer booths, things like that, the food trucks and everything at your park. And she'll tell you what the charity aspect of it is.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, first of all. My name is Tawny Roberts. I am the founder of Mama Haven. It's a local charity. I started the charity in 2017 after I brought that beautiful angel Earthside, and unfortunate circumstances led me to raising him all by myself. And as a single parent, I saw firsthand how difficult it is in doing so. And there's a gap in the government assistance that's available. They're so wonderful in the benefits that they do helping low-income families. The issue that happens is where people start working and start making a little bit more money is when they cut off the benefits, which makes it more challenging for single parents, low-income families to work, but also provide a good, healthy living, situation for their family. Not long after I started my charity is when the unfortunate and devastating tragedies of the Borderline and the Woolsey fire happened. Being a Thousand Oaks native, it connected Mama Haven to hundreds of families that lost their homes, everything that they own, and unfortunately, their loved ones too. And we had our first one of our largest events ever at the Camarillo Ranch House, January of 2019. We raised over $50,000. We placed new furniture and clothing and hundreds and thousands of donations that were raised from the city into the family's new homes after they lost everything in the fire. We had a honorary dinner that hosted 250 guests, including Brian, all the Borderline family survivors, and the Woolsey fire survivors as well. So we overall, we fed over 500 families, helped about 30 to 40 families revamp their homes. And now teaming up with Brian is just something that we would love to do yearly if possible. And just being able to get together as a community is just something that lives very deeply in my heart. And I'm very honored to team up with Brian so we can do it on a regular basis. Thank you.
So with that, that's pretty much what we're looking to do, and if possible, use your part to do so. If you guys have any questions, I'll be here. I don't know if Tom has more to talk about when it comes to it, but ask away or really sit down. Okay.
Do we have any questions? Yes, Director Lang.
Yes, I see this also denotes LA County, Ventura County, LA County. What percentage of the funds raised stay local?
Actually, all the funds will stay local. I'm not quite sure why it says LA County.
That Mama's Haven does deal in LA County also. It doesn't say that. It's
Could
fund-
you get to the microphone, please, because we can't.
Yeah, so no, it just says that Mama Haven also serves LA County. It wasn't for this particular event. It just says it serves both counties. Yeah, as a overall, not for this specific event.
Okay, this specific event, as mentioned, 100% of the funds raised at Canal Creek North Park would stay local.
They would say local. Yeah, not all the funds would go specifically to Mama Haven. They would be the majority benefactor. There'll be other local charities we'll work with as well to run certain aspects of it. There's two charities that have been started from the Borderline family victims' parents, and in their honor, they want to step in and help out as well. But all the funds will stay local. The LA County mentioned is just the fact that whether they live across Westlake or not, we'll still be helping local families.
What does it take to qualify? We heard a story, personal situation, and the organization, if I recall, started in 2017, something like that. And what does it take for an individual, person who lost their home and so forth, to qualify for funds, and how is that determined?
You gotta
Yeah,
use the
yeah,
mic,
come
so
back up there.
she'll explain that to you.
So families determined to be assisted have to provide their paychecks and pay stubs if they've been given benefits already and if they are working full-time. If any of those things qualify and they're still struggling, that's where we step in and help pay assistance with bills or rent if they are in need. We also provide, we've teamed up with other local charities that provide baby clothing, diapers to low-income families that are in need of that. And then, as far as the fire survivors, that particular event was just, anybody who really lost their home, we weren't really looking for proof that someone lost their home. Essentially, we used a Camarillo ranch house as the place for the event, and a Camarillo hangar. We actually set up a swap meet, if you would, with all of the donations that people could come and shop for free to fill up their homes with donated items.
Do these individuals also get some assistance from like the Southern California Edison settlement?
Do they get assistance from?
Do they,
some-
yeah, is there a portion of that funding that goes to the homeowners that lost their homes?
So the beautiful thing about Mama Haven is they fill those gaps. What she's talking about for the government is they may have some kind of settlement coming from Southern California Edison because they lost their homes. However, in between that time of when the home is lost and that settlement
Right.
happens, they still need to buy diapers and things like that. So it's that time that she steps in and really helps them out. So
Yeah.
it's whether they get that settlement, they don't necessarily have to pay it back, but we hope they pay it forward.
Okay, yeah, it's a good stopgap for the situation. That concludes my questions for now.
Well, thank you. They're good questions.
Director Huffer?
Yeah, don't leave.
Oh, yeah, I told her to sit close.
It sounds like a good organization with, good purpose that you have set up. And maybe you already mentioned this, I'm having a little hard time hearing everything that's been said, but, is this a 501c3 nonprofit?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
in good standing with the state of California, 501c3 state nonprofit.
I'm sorry?
In good standing with the state of California, a 501c nonprofit. So there's ways to check whether or not nonprofits are in good standing. We made sure they were before we teamed up.
Okay. All right. And then probably a question for you, Tom. So this is even gonna be better than the chili cook-off, which isn't possible, I know. but
Not better, just more well-run and organized, you said.
More well-run,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
The only difference that I see, or the major concern that I happen to be involved with AYSO. And early November is peak soccer season for AYSO. The parking specified here is Canal Creek West and Northwest. What's going to keep attendees, 3,000 people at your event? What's going to prevent them from parking at Canal Creek South?
Part of our contract is we manage the parking. So we'll hire a security company who will, Brian, I know has contact. I know how successful he was about the school lot. But we will put the contracted security at the parking at South for AYSO and also at the Teen Center, the Global Center, and the library.
Okay, will that then mean that people who are going to AYSO will need some way of identifying themselves as being with
Well,
AYSO?
hopefully it's a small child in a soccer uniform, but that, yeah, it should,
No small kids with soccer uniforms at your event, so.
He's got a bow tie on. We're good.
Yeah. But it's worked out well before where we've just, because like I said, with the library, the teen center and the global center, we've done that before there also. And then you just have to, we did it for chili cook-off. However long you've been at North now, 4 years, 5 years, whatever you've been. Yeah, so 5 years at North. So we haven't had any problems at the teen center or global or the library.
Okay.
So
I
this
guess-
just is an extra wrinkle because with chili cook-off is on a Sunday, so they do get the south parking lot. But this event being on a Saturday, we're gonna have additional security at the ASO lot too.
Okay, and I guess, again, looking at the chili cook-off, I know during the peak arrival time, reports have, fortunately, I was there early enough, I didn't have a problem. But there were reports that traffic was back not only on Jan's, but onto the 23 freeway.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I am a little nervous about our parents who are trying to get their kids to the soccer games being stuck on the 23.
This will be a little later, probably a little bit later, and then too, he's got Party in the Park is 3,000 pre-sale tickets, and what, I mean, I'm speaking for Brian now too, but he's gonna put it, because it's pre-sale tickets, he'll be able to, hey, here's the parking lots that you can go to, and, you know, and none of them, I don't say none of them, but, he's gonna show them where to go for the parking. So they're not gonna be like Chili Cook-Off could have been a bunch of different places. And then you had 6,000. Yeah, and you had and you had more people too than 3,000, 7,500 versus 3,000, so.
Yeah, we're gonna try to direct a lot of people to west, keep them off the 23 freeway and away from the A-way and so side, because once they see that spot, they get pretty lost. So we're gonna direct them the other way. This is the plan.
Okay, well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We're certainly gonna notify all of our soccer people that they probably will need to plan on starting earlier than normal to get
Okay.
games on time, so. But it sounds like a great cause. It's always nice to have a music and dancing event at Canary Creek North. I love that site there, so I wish you the best of luck with this new event.
Thank you. One thing we're also gonna do is culminate the event to a actual bigger artist. So we'll start with smaller local artists and grow to a bigger artist. So throughout the day, we'll have those people coming in, a lot of people are gonna want to see that headliner, and you guys will be done with your soccer by then. Just so you know, so it's not all at once. It'll help.
Thank you.
Take more, questions, Director Nichols?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Brian, I know you've done a few concerts at the park, a few events, a few large events. I'm just curious as to if you could help distinguish the role between your involvement in this and a nonprofit organization. And I don't know Tanya's expertise on running major events, but maybe she can explain that, because she's the signatory on the agreement here. So I'm just trying to understand what the role is between you and or whatever organization you're representing as part of this event and Mama Haven. If you could perhaps distinguish that a little bit better for me.
So I'm pretty much gonna produce the event, and when the city initially came to me, back in 2019, when they finished the Healing Garden, they had come to me just to throw the party in the park aspect of it, just to throw the concert because of my history doing so, both in this county as well as Santa Barbara and other areas. So when they did come to me, and we weren't gonna do it multiple times, after the success of the first event and seeing how healing that was, both for the borderline patrons and families, a lot of them, that was the first event they had come to, even going out to nightclubs and stuff like that. We decided to do it a second time, and now we're looking to do a third. So I think the best way to do it is, instead of trying to do it for profit, is do it with the nonprofit who can help those families and people that were in, like, for instance, Mark Mez's parents, he passed away that evening. They've started their own nonprofit as well. So working with those nonprofits, they have their own events. And I wanted to find a nonprofit that was local, that really tied into borderline, as I've known Tony since she was 19 years old, going to the club. So that's why we sought out to find a nonprofit. And then the nonprofit aspect of it, and as well as like the VIP area, certain aspects of the festival, she'll be tied into. I'll be doing the producing of the stage, the sound, the lighting, traffic in and out, ticket sales, like what I can do. So she'll be doing the nonprofit aspect of it.
Tanya, just curious as to, is this something that you've done in the past, or is this a first time, or
Yeah.
something similar? Maybe not concerts, but large events. Just curious what your experience has been in this realm.
Yeah, no problem. So I actually am a event coordinator. It's my full-time job. Moved out of that. I'm a travel agent now, just since the pandemic, there weren't very many events happening. So, I have a lot of expertise in large events, not so much concerts. But the event that I hosted at the Camarillo Ranch House in January for the Borderline and the Woolsey Fire was a very large event at the Camarillo Ranch House. And I mean, in all transparency, that was my very first large event that I ever hosted by myself. I single-handedly did it, and it was incredibly overwhelming, but I swam. In a place like the Camarillo Ranch House, there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. Security, a lot of things that I had never dealt with before. But I learned a lot in that event. And so since then, I've had a lot of experience in hosting events. I put on a lot of trade shows where I have vendors come and small businesses set up booths, so on and so forth, with much smaller stages for concerts. So not such a big extravagant production, but smaller productions, mostly around like 1,000 people. 3,000 is where he kind of comes in. So I do have experience in it, absolutely. But we're looking now to expand Mama Haven to a bigger level so I can help more people. And Brian's just the perfect guy to connect with to help me do it.
Okay, so if I could just summarize that, what I think I heard is
Yeah.
that you're gonna be responsible for the logistics of the event. And Brian, as a producer, basically is providing the entertainment, and getting the stage set up, all those types of the technical elements for the actual show per se.
Sure.
Is that about right?
Oh, good.
Okay, all right. I just was trying to understand the relationship there, so
Yeah,
thank you.
no problem.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Nickel. Director Holt, do you have any comment? So,
I have, go ahead, Chuck. Or how about the chair? It's,
nope, I'm gonna wait till you're all done, because you may, my question may be answered.
oh,
So Director Hufford.
Yeah, in item 9 of the agreement, says that Mama Haven will provide full financial report after the event. And I don't recall from other events, do we typically ask for a preliminary budget before the event?
No, we don't.
Could I ask them without exact dollars and cents, what do you anticipate the gross revenue for this event to be, and what do you anticipate the net amount going to charity will be?
Gross revenue should be about 60,000 and the charity event should be about 20. The charity aspect of it should be about $20,000. That's very conservative, but we're hoping it's 60 and 60. Last time when we put it on, I should say the first time we put it on, there was a $12,000 to $15,000 police bill that was covered by the city and I believe by CRPD helping, but we didn't have that before, so it's hard to build exacts. But I think it should cost about 40,000 budget to put on and $20,000 for charity afterwards.
But just make sure I understood, you said to expect gross of 50 and net to charity
Gross,
20?
gross of 60. Gross of 60, $40,000 in cost and $20,000 net profit to charity.
All right, thank you.
of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was very disappointed to see this on our agenda. I thought we had put the large events to bed with the previous decision that was made, a lot of discussion and so forth, research and so forth. And here we're kind of breaking the rules that we had established by considering something like this. I like the, event, Brian, the fact that Brian's involved, that gives me a little more confidence. But again, I was very disappointed that, we're dealing with an event and we're not dealing with changing our basic rules first.
Well, our policy does say at the board's discretion, if a event does not occur or drops out, they could add another event. It's gave it to the board's discretion. And since instead of addressing the whole thing now because of the uncertainty of OCART, and I'll probably hopefully addressing that with Westlake Rotary in the next couple months, because generally that's it's a 6 to 8 month process ahead of time, and that would be in June of next year. So that's why I said the fall, I'll probably have some more certainty about our policy. When Brian approached me a month or two ago about this, the reason I brought this up was, or put it before the board was, I was not ready to address the whole policy for the reasons I just stated. And then we've only had 2 large events at the Canal Creek complex, being Canal Valley Days and Chili Cook-Off. So this is a quote unquote replacement for this particular season / year for the 3rd very large event. Again, it's the board's discretion to replace one. We did not have OCART in June of last year, so this kind of takes the place of the OCART, and we'll address the bigger question in the fall.
I know COVID impacted a lot of things, OCART probably being one of them. And what if that is to come back again? and then we've got this going.
Well, and
How do we make that decision?
that's why we'll be bringing everything to the board in the fall. And
But that's after we've already committed to putting on this event.
well, but this particular event is happening quote unquote, in this particular year.
Right,
And we're addressing, the question we're addressing will be for next year.
I understand, but the fact that we're
Stretch a little-
even considering it, to me, is a little premature.
May-
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, so we're having 3 events this year and we're gonna be considering 3 or more events next year. So we're still, our very large event policy, we've talked about 3 events, and that's what I'm proposing is 3 very large events at Canal Creek. That's what I'm proposing this year. Again, and that the board does have that flexibility to do what they're doing tonight in accordance with the policy. But and then we'll address it if it's like you set your question of, well, what are we gonna do about this event next year? That's a question to be for the fall about what are we gonna do with this event for next year, or O-Cart or Chili Cook-Off or Canal Valley Days. That's why we'll address that in the fall.
So will you inform us if Oak-Hart is definitely not gonna take place this year?
That's what I will be bringing back to you in the fall. And that's not this year, it'll be for, again, I will know about O-Cart 2023 in the fall.
Can I speak to that briefly too, Director Lang? I work really closely with Marissa and Chili Cook-Off and, as well as with Frank Akery on Canal Valley Days. As you all know, I started Oak-Hart and produced that. So when you all decided, I should say, to do just 3 events, I was completely on board for that. I think that's enough for the area. Unfortunately, when the shooting happened, I think this is something that we should consider, because of how many people were affected. And when I do promotions for this event, I do it locally. This isn't something I buy radio ad time or anything like that. I just send out emails to how many people went to the bar for those 25 years. We mentioned, that this is a borderline driven event, and we're showing off that healing garden, and that's why there's a 4th event. This isn't just to try to make more money or anything like that, just so you know.
Okay, I didn't understand everything you said, but. Okay,
Basically, I agree with you. I think that 3 was enough, but I think under the circumstances of 2018 and the shooting at the bar, that's why I'm here talking about it.
Yeah, in a nutshell, what he's saying, because when we did pass that policy, and I don't remember if it was days before or days after O-Cart, but it was in November 2018 when that policy was passed, and we weren't even contemplating the O-Cart tragedy, or excuse me, the borderline tragedy. at that
Right,
point. It
understand.
just, it was an unfortunate coincidence. So that's why, again, I said we'll be bringing back in the fall.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so, just in summary, we've approved 3 large events a year. We've had 2 large events a year this year.
Correct.
So we're saying that we still could be putting in 1 more event,
Right.
and this could be the event.
And to
If
be
we
clear,
approve.
we specifically said O-Cart, Canal Valley Days and Chili Cook-Off.
Right,
And with comma, but if something doesn't happen, the board can replace it.
true. And
Yeah.
so we would be replacing O-Cart with this event.
Correct,
So we wouldn't really be changing what we said we'd do because it's still just 3 large events.
correct.
Correct. My other question is, you obviously, between the 2 of you, have staff helping you.
Yes, we do have
Okay,
staff
'cause
helping.
this
us,
seems
yes.
like a really large event.
Yes.
So,
So I actually ran the Borderline for 10 years, Borderline Bar and Grill, and I own a bar in Agora Hills called the BL Dance Hall. We haven't named it Borderline yet, but yeah, we do have a full staff there. And then Tony is
and so you have, full
volunteers.
committee staff that will be helping you put on
I
this
think,
event.
I think that's these people.
Yeah, that's these people here that are here to help as well.
Oh, these are
Yes.
gonna help you too.
They'll be
I
there,
was
yeah.
wondering when you 3 were going to talk, but I just
Yes.
assumed that you were support people at
Yes.
this point.
It's-
Okay,
Pretty much logistics, decorative with Tony, and obviously Bryce lifts everything. That's the guy in the middle.
we appreciate your support for this. And then, so I'm assuming that the music you'll have would be somewhat conducive to what the Borderline has played before, so it would be somewhat of a tribute to the, people who perished at the Borderline crisis.
Yes, we do a lot of people that have performed there over the years, over the 25 years. We might bring in one more national artist that's country based as well, who's also probably performed at Borderline as well. Our national anthem singer last year, she was 11 years old when she started singing the national anthem at the bar. And now she's 17 and living in Nashville, pursuing being a country artist. So yeah, we try to keep it very, very tightly knit to this community. Yes.
And so my other question is, are you going to have multiple stages or are you just going to have one stage?
Just one stage throughout the day and then a big dance floor with DJs in between the artists. And that dance floor is 40 by 40, the same size dance floor that Borderline had. So we try to pretty much mimic Borderline, the size of it on that field, and it works quite well inside that bowl.
All right, so are there any further questions at this point? Yes,
Yes, just-
Director Nichols.
Thank you. This is a question for staff. Mr. Harry, I believe I heard you say that because of the size that it requires the CEQA exemption, is there a certain attendance number or something? How is that dictated? If we had an
We-
event that
we
was
determined
50 or
that-
100 or
We
1,000?
determined that ourselves, that when we looked at the size that Caneo Creek, the different areas of Caneo Creek, what they could handle on a, what we call just like a permit basis, like if you were just, you're renting out Willow Bend and Creekside and, so we determined any event over 1,000 is what we're calling a very large event. So then that would, it triggers, in my opinion, it triggers the CEQA process because it's something that's a little bit larger than the contemplated for the routine activities
Gotcha.
at
Okay.
the complex.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, now are we questioned and commented out?
Mhm.
We're ready to move on this. All right. So do I have a recommendation for this item to determine that Mama Haven's play party and park celebration can go on? Is there a motion for this?
Sure. I'll be happy to make a
Okay,
motion.
Director
Yes.
Nichols, you would like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we determine that the Mama Haven's party in the park is exempt from CEQA. And number 2, to authorize the general manager to execute agreement for the party in the park for 2022.
And Director Holt, you'll make a second on that?
Yes, I second.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any opposed? And Director Huffer is opposed. Motion passes. Okay, so congratulations. We'll look forward to a very well-run event with no parking issues and that it will be an excellent contribution to our community for this year. Okay, thank you. Moving on to 9B. And is this again, this is Mr. Friedel.
Yes, thank you, Chair Cuthbert, members of the board. Thanks, you guys. This is the 2022 biennial review of our conflict of interest code. So every 2 years, we get basically a letter from the Ventura County Clerk of the Board's office, and they basically say, hey, a reminder, you have to have a fresh, every 2-year adopted conflict of interest code. Here's your last year's. Have you had any position changes or are you making any changes to your code? Here's what you would do if you need to make a change. If you don't, we still want you to adopt a fresh resolution. So it's only a couple years old. So this is unchanged from our 2020 conflict of interest code. So it's the same exact conflict of interest code that we're currently operating under. So there are no changes. We haven't added a new position that we'd have to add to the designated position. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Move
Yes.
approval of staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Passes. Okay, so we have our reports and announcements, and I've noticed that Mrs. Couch is not here tonight. So,
Yeah,
I
she was
guess there's
actually
no-
here this morning and is unexpectedly not here tonight. I mean, I know that she wasn't gonna be here, but that wasn't her plan today. So we really don't have, a full-blown rec report, other than she's got quite a
Got
few.
all these.
Yeah, quite a few,
Got a
inside the packet there.
Yeah.
So.
Which is great.
It's fabulous. I just didn't know if anybody wanted to, reach out to her with any questions because I was going to make a few comments, but yes, Director Lang.
Are you starting with recreation highlights?
Yeah, well, I think you can, pretty much comment on any of these. But I was going to comment on recreation highlights, but if anybody has any comments on
yeah.
anything for 10, please feel free.
I
Yeah.
feel, I couldn't figure out what the rec mobile was going to be doing at these sites. This one.
Yeah, I
Isn't
think
that
they-
part of her?
Yeah,
It is. I think they just come and bring activity.
right.
Yeah, they just go to the park and say, here we are, and it's sort of a pop-up
Whatever.
activity in the park.
Right, and the rec band will have like equipment, recreational equipment, balls and other kind of things that, could be used for group activities and stuff. So you'll
Because
have-
they're only
rec-
there for an hour at a time.
Yeah, you'll have rec
hour and a
leaders
half.
showing up to kind of highlight CRPD, make sure people understand that we're there and available to them, and then have rec leaders leading rec.
It's like a pop-up concert for. that.
For an hour.
Yeah.
each
Hour and a
time.
half.
Well, some of them are just an hour.
Yeah, it's like an hour. An hour with little kids is a long time, believe me. So,
All day.
They're all just an hour.
okay, Director Lang.
One of my questions was gonna be the number of participants in the home run derby and how it compared to previous years. It looked like there was a special guest involved, Dennis Ruley. If his presence drew more people this year than previous, does anybody know?
I don't know if his presence doesn't necessarily draw more people in. He's just very well known because he's, he hits them like there's nothing, there's no tomorrow. He hit 31 or 32 home runs. I think the next closest was 13. And he just does it for competition, for show. And but there was actually fairly well attended. There was a lot of people there. And it's like, in my opinion, it's probably my 6th or 7th one I've been to, is normal attendance, good time, and everyone had a real good time.
Yeah, but again, the number is about the same as far as you know?
Yes, and that's just I don't know about the numbers actually, who signed up for it, but just for like the crowd, the people that were there, and then how long it took, and it just seemed like a normal
Okay.
home run derby to me.
Okay. I just-
And so Rochelle is actually watching and she's messaging me saying that they were close to numbers from the pre-COVID levels is what she's.
Pre-COVID level.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rochelle.
Madam Chair.
One more question, kind of in combination of Director Holt's question on the rec mobile. Rochelle, are there any thoughts of integrating the rec mobile with our outreach programs?
Yeah, I can definitely say yes.
All
Yes.
right,
Yeah, we've had a discussion.
so what takes,
Well, it's more of a, kind of communicating with the school district, letting them know what our outreach workers have capacity to do, and then involving them in the rec band and letting the folks they're working with know they're gonna be out for the rec band thing. So it's just having that, I guess, a little higher trained staff available at the rec band staff. So it'll be kind of dependent on the school sites. It'll be more like when they're near and close to the school sites, that would probably be more likely to have some of these outreach programs. Because remember, the school district's paying for half of it.
right,
youth outreach.
so some of the programs that would be offered are also coordinated or identified as a need by the school district. So the rec staff just can go in there with something in mind, and they get there and the school site or something, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna take the lead from the school district on the need for a specific rec activity. I think we're gonna be the lead on what we think is something worth doing there, but the fact that they would want a youth outreach worker at that area is something we work with the school district on, knowing who the kids are and where they live, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, please?
Yeah, I just was going to make a comment and looking at the number of visitors, I'm looking at page 103 where it's a facility reservation summary report. And I notice the first 6 months of this year on the athletic fields, we've had over 1.1 million visitors. So if I double that for 12 months, it'll be 2.5 million visitors. And I'm just wondering how Tom keeps those athletic fields green with 500 million, whatever it is, feet traipsing across them.
But we charge $1 per head.
That's a lot of use and a
Yeah,
lot
no,
of abuse.
Yeah, it's a lot of use, but yeah, and just, you know, those numbers are not exactly perfect. Those are,
I
what,
understand.
yeah, you know, that's what,
Yes.
that's what the groups put down as their
Yes,
attendance. So,
yes.
so, but yes, there is quite a bit of, significant, traffic,
Yes,
on our fields.
and I think it's a wonderful problem to have that we have
Yes.
so many kids and adults that are out there using the facilities. That's what they are there for. So
Mhm.
we'll do our best to keep them green. But thank
Yes.
you.
Yep.
Good problem to have.
Any other comments for item 10? Okay, so Rochelle, since you're listening, I just wanted to tell you that my granddaughter loved board cheer camp and she loved cheerleading camp. And this has made a very fun summer for her and for her parents. So thank you very much for jobs well done with your staff. All righty, so let's go on to our department reports, Parks Division.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Custer, members of the board. A few items. We yesterday had a call with the school district. They're looking in in the very near future to look at opening their campuses up, their playground areas at Lang Ranch Elementary, Aspen Elementary, and Walnut Elementary to the public. They're looking at us for more like advice, like how do we monitor things and what our rules are. So it's kind of like more of a feedback, or peer review of what they're doing. And they're going to look and see the success, depending on the success of those programs, if they're going to move forward with opening up additional campuses in the district. Had how many meetings now? 8 pickleball meetings over the past 2 weeks. Lots of fun. We had 2 meetings at Rancho Caneo Playfield, 2 meetings at Del Prado, and 2 at Oak Brook Neighborhood Park, and 2 at Caneo Creek Northwest. We've got a couple more meetings scheduled at Toronto Community Park next week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. and Saturday at 9 a.m. of next week. After that, we'll schedule the ad hoc committee to get together, and we'll kind of go over the results and our scoring systems and our rankings, and kind of decide what the next step should be and what our recommendations for the full board should be. And then we are probably by the end of the month, we should be closing escrow on the Parliament House. I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Herron? Mr. Huffman?
A request, I know you just gave us gave us the dates and times and everything, but could you just send me an email with
Sure.
those 2 meetings over at Triumph?
Sure.
And I know I've asked about this before, and I know that we don't own the panels, but I keep going by the solar array at Canal Creek South, and it's still messed up and nothing's being done. Are they ever gonna fix it?
That's according to them, yes, they are. Yeah, and they, I think
Sometime in the foreseeable future?
sometime in the foreseeable future, they said they will. And I tried. I know I did forward you a email. I don't remember what it said, from the company. But I said, but I know they were looking to start it. I remember off the top of my head, I remember him saying July, so they're running it in July to start the project.
Okay, and do you know if that's, 'cause I can't remember, it seems to me it's like 6 panels or maybe 8 panels. Has that had a measurable impact?
No.
On, no.
No, it has, I've been monitoring that also, because it's still, it's still operational, those panels, but
And it looks
maybe,
ugly.
right, it looks ugly, and I'm sure the angle, because it's, a little this, a little that, but they're still operational.
All right, thank you.
I'll follow up though with the company.
Any other questions for Mr. Hare? All righty, is Mrs. Callis able to speak, or shall we just move over with that? Okay. Management Division Services, Mrs. Smith?
Thank you, Chair and members. Happy new fiscal year. We're working on closing the last fiscal year, but happy new year. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our HR and accounting staff right now. We have an extraordinary amount of COVID-related leave balances and leave uses that are happening right now. It makes our timesheet and payroll process take about double the amount of normal time. So just, I wanted to give them a shout out. It's a ton of work and they're doing a really great job. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Mrs. Smith? Okay, let's move on to our General Manager's report, Mr. Friedel.
Yes, thank you, Chair Cusworth, members of the board. This is sort of a rec report, but I just thought I'd mention it when Rochelle was here earlier this morning. She had a friend who lives in Orange County who took a screenshot of her television that showed that Caneo Rec and Park District was hosting a Rod Stewart tribute band at a concert in the park on the 24th. So not sure how that happened in Orange County. We're not sure who did that, but apparently it was like on a things to do this weekend thing on the TV in Orange County.
Wow, must be slow in Orange County, huh?
So, yeah, so that was interesting. And then again, thank everybody.
crap.
I think I got some really nice thank yous from the Ward family for the Tech Board Point event. So they asked me to personally pass on a thanks to the board for all that. That was pretty cool. And then I think Aline sent out the let's have lunch sometime in August email. So hopefully we'll have our meetings coming up in August. But other than that, I know staff's been running like crazy, like the duck swimming on water, paddling like crazy and making it look smooth. But I think they're looking forward to the little August recess here for this summer. So with that, I'm available for questions. Oh, no, wait, one more thing. This got handed out to you guys.
It's upsetting.
Isn't it?
Mhm.
Isn't it?
Mhm.
So,
I'm glad
So,
you brought it up.
yeah, so this was done recently. And it was just sort of like, let's actually find out what the general population, not the general population, the population of people that
If
actually
the
pay.
older,
These are people that paid to be in our program. That's who gets surveyed. This is a post participation in our programs survey.
look at those 55 plus.
So the point I'm trying to show out is we asked them in this short little survey, which of the following best defines CRPD? And then we kind of gave them a 4-question sort of choice. A, are we a division of the city of Thousand Oaks? B, are we a special district with elected directors? C, a subdivision of the county of Ventura? Or D, a department of CVUSD? And the solid
that
majority of
one.
the people are convinced we're a division of the city of Thousand Oaks.
Right.
So there you go.
That's all these 55 plus people who just moved here.
People in our city don't even know we're.
Well, you're down right.
I now have the numbers proven.
You're on the nose. Yeah, about half the people. So that's just, just as. we'll
That's
keep
the
doing
way
our
it-
job.
That's the way it's been
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, it's just funny to see it in
Well,
actual
but-
poll.
But there's gotta be a way, I mean, other than us telling people, no, we're not part of the city of Thousand Oaks.
Well, we like to just sort of march forward, doing all our
Yeah.
thing and say, it's amazing what you can get accomplished if you don't really care to get the credit. So we just keep doing our good work. But it was just kind of eye-opening to see it in actual numbers from a survey.
Well, there are only 150 responses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these are people that are paying us, they're writing us, they're sending us money. They're-
I wrote a check that says, "Hey, recreation park."
Anyway, so that's it. Otherwise, we're happy summer. We've been having a great summer. The camps are going gangbusters. They're doing great. Staff's working really hard. Rent is coming up. I know that, Rochelle would definitely have mentioned Rent, but if you have not purchased your ticket to Rent, the Teen Summer Musical is probably the best value entertainment like you can get in the Canal Valley. It's fantastic. So, with that, I'm available for questions.
Do you have any questions? Okay, well, let's move on to our director's report. So how about if we start over here, Director Nichols?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as since the last meeting that we had, I did go to the Touch a Truck event on June 18th. And that was a family event. It was an unofficial duty completely. I was only over there having fun. And I was amazed at how many strollers there were and families and kids and pregnant mothers. It's just like the school district should have no problem with the population in the next few years. Maybe it's going to catch up a while. But the kids were just, covering the place and having just a blast. It was so much fun. You could just tell they were having a lot of fun. And I think one of the biggest hits was the playground. I mean, it was just like a beehive. The kids were swarming, climbing up and down, and it was just great to see them. Tom had given me a hint on what to say for the balloon drop, and I almost got a balloon drop on my head over there. So thanks, Tom. But yeah, maybe so. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of interest. It was good to see the people, getting out and enjoying that. And especially the young kids, they just, like to get out there and participate. So it was a lot of fun to watch. Other than that, it was just the regular board meetings and concerts and things that we were all at.
Right.
Director Holt?
Well, again, yeah, the board meeting, the concerts, but it was a great month, but nothing out of the ordinary. I think I had only 4 items on my chart. And some of the months have been pretty heavy recently, but that was a quiet month. July's been busy though.
Director Hopper?
Yeah, I guess July was fairly quiet. I'd forgotten about the touch truck. That was a fun event, just watching all the kids. And you're right, if you weren't careful, you can get run down by a stroller there. But yeah, I wish I had a grandkid close enough. I told my 2 kids, I said, we've got to plan the next family get together around the next touch truck. Because particularly 2 little boys who just love that event. Oh yeah. So anyway, the touch truck, all the various 4th of July activities, and the pancake breakfast, and the concert, and the fireworks were spectacular. Sitting right there under the hill, which was a lot of fun. We were all at the Tex Ward Point dedication, and what a spectacular spot that is up there. Although the fog coming in at the end sort of spoiled the sunset, but that's all right. It's gorgeous up there. And it was very well put on by all the staff. So great event, and sort of related to CRPD, but still have once a month we're doing the tax program where we're Canoe Creek South. So if some of you didn't get your taxes done first Wednesday of every month, you can still get your taxes done for free. So that's it.
Director Lang?
Yes, well, my month started off with a bang, as Melissa knows. MRCA acquired 6,000 acres, the Hathaway Ranch, which is physically located by Lake Piru and Cass State. It's one of the largest remaining parcels in northern Los Angeles County. And so MRCA is very pleased to have accomplished that. I too attended a 4th of July pancake breakfast concert in the park and fireworks. I also participated in the Tex Ward viewpoint dedication, ribbon cutting, whatever it was called. But I think part of the ambiance was the hayride up to the site. That was just kind of neat, and I had a couple photos. I don't know if I shared it with the board. That was really great seeing the mountains in the background, and the fog hadn't started rolling in yet, but it was just with the hay wagon and the mountains and so forth and open space. It was really great. I attended McCray Ranch Movie Night Saturday night, the Oklahoman. Good turnout, and that was good. And then this past Monday, Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy meeting. So that concludes my report.
So the only things that I had that were a little different than some of you is that well, it wasn't really the city, it was Jackie Irwin put on an emergency meeting and she did it at Civic Arts Plaza. So I went there and it was very well done, very good information, good presentation. So, and Matt was there and he was very funny, but they had a panel. He was my favorite part. But he did emphasize how, we need water for the parks. And they were having workshops on how to convert your lawns to drought tolerant. And they did make kind of a push for that, so I was happy to hear that. And then, and Jana, you're really, quite the trooper here in the state of the environment. Well, oh, no, we're thrilled to have you. But Jana and Barbara and Wyatt and I all met at the Stagecoach Inn. We're trying to do a yearly meeting of our 3 museum heads. And so Jana, escorted everybody around to show them some of the new things that have been going on with a lot of the CRTD money with the matching grant. And then we enjoyed snacks and conversation on one of our new patios that was financed by CRTD. It's always nice to get together. A lot of collaboration is going on, a lot of questions, just a lot of fellowship. So I was very glad that we had that. So, oh, and I do need to say, new kids in the park, they were really good. But wait until you see Victorian vibes for the Stagecoach Inn, of which Jana and I are both a part, and Barbara is singing. And so, yeah, we're gonna be, anyway, we'll leave some surprises to you, but
Okay,
it's going to be fun. I'll just say that. It's going to be fun.
Pam was telling me about it. That does sound really good.
Yeah, well, we were very inspired with, what you did, so. Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, because I'd win again, and it's just, there's no fun winning all the time.
Well, we're hoping to take over your place there, so we'll see.
Those failed.
If we're good or if we're just silly, but that's what we're going for. It looks like there's gonna be a lot of good things this year. It's a great program. Yes, Director Lang.
Real quick for the general manager. We did the community garden and so forth. I think maybe more frequently we should do these little field trips, and one of them is Stagecoach Inn Museum. Hearing about the porches and other amenities that have been added. So, kind of think things like that.
That's a good idea.
Did you want yours returned?
Okay, so for item 12, I believe that, Director Nichols, you would like to talk about the song.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned, a brief little memo just to kind of document my thoughts. I noticed at our July 4th Independence Day concert, we never had the national anthem played. And then I realized, well, we didn't have it played at the Memorial Day concert either. And to me, it seemed like having a patriotic song at a patriotic holiday would only be appropriate, and certainly our national anthem would fit the bill for that. And so I'd like to have the board consider, not necessarily tonight, but when it's appropriate, that we actually have a policy that any concert that the Park District sponsors or hosts on a national holiday or weekend includes a national anthem. And while it, whether you agree or not, I'm just saying, even if the board does agree and staff thinks it's a wonderful idea, I would like to have it as a policy, because as we all know, institutional knowledge passes over time. and we kind of forget what was supposed to have been done unless it's in writing. And so I felt it was important enough to have something like that in writing as a policy, that the board has made that decision. And so that's why, whether it's a actual staff report or something, just that the board can actually consider that in the future meeting and make that an official policy, so we do give due recognition on our national holidays during those events.
Director Holt.
And that's interesting because I had several people come up to me. We didn't have a national anthem. We didn't have any patriotic song. And I said, well, I think that probably the problem was that the performers were not prepared to do that. And that's what you have to have. You have to have a music so that everyone's singing on the same key. You know, you can't just say, okay, everybody in your own voice, sing whatever, wherever you want. It's a shame, but the performers have to be prepared to play somebody's got to play some sort of music. So that everybody's singing in the same key. Otherwise, it's just a mess. So, I know I talked to Alina about this, and she said perhaps the original performers might have done that, but there was a substitute group that day or that night. And so it just didn't come up. But particularly for July 4th. I mean, not for every concert necessarily.
Director Lynn?
Yes, and on behalf of staff, well, first of all, I totally agree and support your comments, and I think that's very important. But in reference to Memorial Day, our staff did provide the taps. So the taps were played, so that was appropriate. But I agree with your overall comments, and I support that.
Comments?
Well, again, we can't take any action tonight, but I agree that, just a matter of telling performers, please, take 2 minutes to play the national anthem.
Well, particularly Memorial Day, for,
Yeah,
July
the national
4th.
holiday, as Doug suggested, so I think it makes sense.
And I know, I think in talking with Mr. Hare, he even brought up the idea that, it doesn't have to necessarily be the headline group. You always bring in a high school quartet or band or some, church choir or
You
something
need
that wants to.
some music,
somebody-
basic music. So that
I know they'd be
people are
more
singing
than
the
willing
same
to get
key.
up and,
Yeah.
sing a song of that significance. So even something like that might be option if a rock and roll band just is not that familiar with the national anthem.
And they could give you the first note and you could sing from there.
Well, I agree, but I would like to say that, I've been going to the 4th of July concerts for years, maybe over 30 years. And, I was a big fan of Elmer Ramsey, where the whole thing was patriotic, but, things have to change. And I
Had
have
an
to say that
orchestra with
most
them.
years, they did, though it might not have been the national anthem. I remember for many, many years, even post Elmer Ramsey, they always would do the military medley.
Yes.
Because I can remember my father and son-in-law always standing up, that there would be patriotic music played. So there has been a huge tradition. I think that taps has often been done on Memorial Day with flyovers. Haven't we had flyovers before? Yeah, I mean, sometimes there has been that also. So I don't think that there's been a lack, and I think we need to really commend our staff for thinking of that. And I think that this year it was
Not
just
the staff.
with the new, we've had 2 kind of strange years with our concerts. And then at the last minute, a new band came in. So I think that it was just a,
Snafu this
Yeah.
year.
yeah, I think it was just a snafu this year is what really happened, because it has been a tradition. One thing I would like to look into before we do a policy, before we make a policy is, just because I should have been an attorney, because I just love to talk and I'm always worried about precedent. Is just in the 4 years I've been here, it seems like the board usually is voting on things that require money of some type. Whether it's staff or playgrounds or things of that sort, or what type of, if we're gonna be adding new staff positions, which has to do with money. But we don't usually make, policy decisions per se, unless we're doing something in a, reviewing, our general reports or, our mission statements or something of that sort. I don't think anybody has anything against making the recommendation of having patriotic music done, especially on the 3 holidays. Absolutely. I can't imagine anybody would want that. And as you were saying, it might not have to always be the national anthem. Maybe the national anthem on the 4th of July, but maybe America or My Country 'Tis of Thee. And as you were saying, bring in somebody to sing it like they do at the ball games. They don't have everybody sing the national anthem. It would be the
I'll
pride
sing
of
it.
some parents' hearts, to have their child get up and sing before the community.
Aline and I'll go up and sing
Well,
it.
so what I've heard is that I will be bringing back a policy at the next board meeting that says we will make sure that we have some patriotic music on those federal holidays. And yes, I can vouch, having talked to staff, that we're no problem whatsoever. That's
But what my
exactly what we'll do.
question, Mr. Friedel, is does the board vote on policies of that sort, of which no
It's not-
financial? is-
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, a board level policy is what the board, you guys set board level policies and, that's sort of in our world, kind of the highest sort of order of sort of direction for staff. So, I think what I heard at the beginning of all this from Director Nichols is like, let's just make sure that we all know that we're going to be doing, a patriotic song such as the national anthem during the federal holidays that we're celebrating. So
Do we
I
need a
think that's a
motion?
simple enough process to get that into a short little policy and bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay.
A much simpler policy than deciding.
Even a general manager could write this one. I might even do it myself.
All right.
Yes, we use that policy.
Okay. Well, the Caneo Creek involves money
No,
and music park.
3 major events, regardless.
Okay, that was the policy. Okay, I just wanted to make sure on that. I wanted to make sure we were following within the realm of what the board votes on. So I'm sure that there's no problem with that. And then could we, is our board meeting before, next board meeting before Labor Day? It is. Okay, so we might want to think of having, it's on September 1st. Okay. Alrighty then. So, there are no other items from the public? No, nobody's online? Alrighty. We do not have an executive closed session? No? No, okay.
Madam
so
Chair?
this may-
Madam Chair, just,
Oh,
just
you-
before you adjourn, I will not be in attendance at the September 1st meeting. I will be attending the California Association of Recreation and Park Districts board meeting, which is from August 31st to September 1st. It's a 2-day event this time. And it will be in Roseville and Paradise, so I will unfortunately be missing that board meeting.
So you will not be voting?
Unless I can log in somehow, but
Yes.
Oh.